Garrett Williams will go to IR. He had an Achilles yesterday, and Walter Nolan will go to IR. Had the knee. Everybody else kind of evaluating. We'll see how the week goes. Talked to the team today. They were in meetings. Just kind of showed them kind of what I told you guys yesterday. This kind of the story of the game. Did some good things all three phases, and then execute some things all three phases as well. You put that together over 60 minutes. Came up short, so pointed that out today, and we'll move on to Cincinnati. What we got?
What's the message to the team if guys keep going down with injury? Like, what do you tell them to keep their spirits up, I guess?
Well, they know it's part of the game. Yes, we've had more this year than since we've been here. That's a fact. But you got to step in and assume roles and play good football.
Will Walter require surgery?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, guys. Again, I think they're going through tests right now. All those things. I'm not quite sure with that. When I got information, I'll let you guys know.
The fear for Garrett, that was a torn Achilles.
Yeah, he has an Achilles.
Did you see from Darius yesterday?
Played really well. Sorry, Bo. Go ahead. Yeah.
Most productive in the box score, but what did you see from him on tape?
Violent. Played with good technique. Good mode of play. Thought he was super productive. Yeah, it was one of his better games. I thought he's been on a trend up here this last month or so, and like I said, even if he doesn't show up in the box score, I think he's playing the right way right now, and doing his job at a pretty high level.
It's obviously a horrible thing for this to happen to the young players, but for Walt, it seemed like when he was on the field, he really showed you a lot. In the small sample size, were you pleased with what he did this season?
Yeah, you feel bad for the guy because I know he didn't see this year going like it did. I know he's got goals that because he wasn't out there, wasn't able to achieve. But, yeah, he has shown the ability to be a difference maker on our defense and impact the game in the run and pass game, and will be a huge piece of us moving forward.
You highlighted Jaden Davis and his ability to step in. I mean, it's been probably a bit of a roller coaster since you guys drafted him, be on the practice squad, all the different transactions that have been made along the way. So to actually see him out there, even in those circumstances, just how neat was it to actually see it happen?
Yeah, he was ready to go. The first couple snaps, I think he had one error, but he went in and played pretty well. Honestly, I thought that's a credit to PT and Smitty for getting him ready. That's not an easy spot to be in. Hasn't had a ton of game action, and then he played a lot yesterday in a thinking position that requires you, without getting a ton of reps during the week when you're any backup, to go in there, process, make the right calls, get in the right position. I thought he played well.
I know it's a small sample size, but how do you think the Gaines moving to center than Hayden moving into guard did for?
Yeah, it was that one drive. We kind of stalled out there in the red zone, that drive that you're talking about, Josh. But I thought it was awesome. Gaines, he had to cut the thing off so he could snap the ball. That was, a thing. Because what he's playing with can't snap, so he had to cut that off. And then Hayden went in. I thought they did a really good job. It really was. And they continued to move the football that drive, which just is unfortunate. We stalled out there and had to settle for a field goal. But I thought that O-line battled pretty good, man. Run game I thought looked good. Always things to improve on, but they're playing well.
How did Marv come out of yesterday's game?
Okay, I think he'll be ready for more. We'll see how it kind of goes here. Obviously we had a plan for his reps, where he was at health-wise. I know he wants to play more, you know what I mean? So we'll see where he's at, take it day by day.
What was the end zone from Marvin? Would you like to see him go up and?
Yeah, he can go up and make that play.
What did you see? You mentioned the O-line a little bit. What would you think unlocked the run game a little bit more?
Well, it's a little bit of give and take. I thought we covered people up. I thought we got on the right people. I thought our downhill run game went well. And when a team plays you in light box to stop your tight ends and your receivers, you got to be able to run it.
With the losses mounting and 2 on the road now, just 2 to go, do you have to do anything different with the guys just to keep them focused on?
No, they're locked in. That's a good question, Craig. They're locked in, ready to go, man. They're again, like I've kind of been. I apologize, you guys. Kind of the same answer, same story. Where we're at right now, but no one's pleased, no one's happy. But they'll have the right attitude. Somebody asked me yesterday, how do you get them to go? They're pros. You know what I mean? You have fun doing your job, and losing is not fun. I'm not saying that. but there also is a silver lining to adversity. But our guys will be concentrated on Cincinnati. They'll be ready to go, just like the coaches. They're in their game planning right now.
You just said you kind of say the same thing, every week. Does it feel like that internally?
Yeah, a little bit when you're losing. You know what I mean? For me, at least, you're trying to do everything that you can. How can I impact winning? And you try to make some tweaks here or there. You keep a good attitude. You keep the right mindset. You do your job at a high level. And it's hard when you're not getting the results you want. But no one's going to jump off the diving board. I know that.
It does feel like, every Monday you say the guys came in and had the right attitude and everything. Is there anything that comes to mind for why that has not translated, like why the process has not translated to on-the-field wins?
I mean, there's a lot of layers of that. At the end of the day, we haven't played good enough ball for 60 minutes as a team. Haven't coached well enough, haven't played well enough. That's what it comes down to. So we just all got to do a better job.
Marv said on Friday that he's probably going to play injured the rest of the season. I know guys are banged up all year, but what's kind of the upside of playing him if he feels like he's going to be?
He wants to play, and he wants to help us win. He wants to go out there and play football. So, again, we always do what's best for the player. If we thought that we were endangering him, we wouldn't put him out there. So he feels good enough to play, we'll play.
Coach, the old saying of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is kind of insanity, but does that enter your mind, your thought process now when you're looking at the losses mounting and where you're at?
Yeah, it does, Craig. It really does. I think, though, I believe in what we do. I believe in our process. Like I said to you guys a couple weeks ago, I believe in this team. Yeah, the results haven't been there, but I haven't lost confidence. I really haven't, and not to say that we haven't tweaked things during the year. Obviously, we have had to play with different people. That's part of the game. We'll look at everything that we're doing when it's time to do that and make adjustments, because you're right. I always say, I'm not going to keep going down doing the same thing, so I got to look at everything. And Craig, I take it on the chin. I'm responsible for everything that goes in and out of that building. So ultimately, that's my responsibility.
The process you believe in, and the players even said they believe in what you tell them, coach them. When they don't work, just how tough is.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but that's why you got to keep the right frame of mind. I say block out external factors and go to work, and the results will come.
Have there been things that you've changed throughout the course of this season?
Yeah.
JG Clays talked yesterday about how many new faces each week are coming in and out, learning new names. Just how hard is that for a team to really kind of get that chemistry together each week?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but again, I think that's our job, and as coaches, to make sure we're putting them in the right positions, and guys got to go in and play. I always tell the coaches kind of before camp starts, it's before you make the 53, you got 90 guys going to camp, or 89, 88 guys, however many got going to camp, and I tell all the coaches I am telling you, this is going to happen. The people that you think are going to get cut are going to end up being playing for you. So develop them, get them ready to go. And sure as enough, it almost always works out like that in one way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? And this year, a little bit unique before, our first 2 years, we've had a lot more guys have to play, and that's something that we've had to deal with. But you got to put them in positions. You got to develop them. They got to go out and play well. That's our job.
When you were first coming up, how early did you realize that?
Say it again.
When you were coming up, how early did you realize that kind of factor of it all?
I mean, way back, you just see it. If you're in the league long enough, your starters on day one probably aren't going to be your starters in the middle of the year, the end of the year. And we got a pretty good process. I feel like I always felt like. When I was a position coach, you get a new guy in on a Tuesday and he's got to go play on Sunday. It's you got to learn all this on your own and then see you on Wednesday kind of deal. So we have some processes in place to try to get guys caught up to speed quicker than what I ever did, because I thought that I didn't do a good job of it. But it's hard. It's a challenge, you know what I mean? But like I said, everybody goes through it, and you got to do it.
What, if
anything, did you see them do to limit Trey or make it more difficult
They
to get
played a
Trey?
bunch of different versions of shell.
How do you were talking about the run game earlier, did the run game do enough in your mind to kind of take advantage of what they were doing defensively?
Yeah, I'd like to see a couple more explosive, but we hit a couple. There was a couple negative yards runs. I always think of it, but that happens in the game. Like, we had a bunch of scoring drives or chances for scoring drives. Make a couple more plays here or there. The game looks a little bit different. Same thing on defense, same thing on fourth down.
You guys have played 80 players this year. It's most in the NFL. What do you think when you hear that number?
That's a lot of guys.
It was just 3 points in the second half yesterday.
Yeah.
What happened in the second half?
We had some chances, to throw the ball in from the high red or the red. Had some chances to put field goals on the board. Didn't happen. And in the last drive, you'd like to get it down into a scoring position to see what could happen, And unfortunately, I think that was on first down. They took the ball away and ended the game. So just got to do a better job execution.
You guys have invested a lot over the past year or two into the defensive front. Why do you think hasn't quite materialized into an impact crew?
I wouldn't say that, Teo. I think the guys that we got in there are improving, doing a good job collectively, trying to kind of figure out what roles and guys doing what and how they can impact the game. I don't think it's just about that on defense. I think it's the collective. We all got to play better.
Kind of going off Teo's question about, changing things throughout the year about how the way the coaching staff operates. I know you don't completely change the way you coach football. What are the things that are changeable? Is it schedule stuff or is it motivate? How have you changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes the scheduling stuff, Teo, you asked me about it the one day, why'd you change this? It was just because of our health. But yeah, you try to, it's a good question. There are a lot of layers to it. I look at everything if we're not, here's an example, if we're not playing a technique, in my opinion, that's kind of a technique and fundamental that we're not executing at a high enough level, how are we drilling it? How are we teaching it? What are we showing them to try to get them to execute it a little bit better? Or maybe you might want to change the verbiage of how we're saying it, Nick and I were talking about that this morning with certain things, maybe we're clouding their mind on, being so detailed that it's slowing them down. That's a big picture question, but to your point, Craig, this isn't getting done at the level that I feel like it should get done. What are we doing to change it and get it better, So I think that honestly goes on a daily basis, Then from my standpoint, and that's with all the coaches and coordinators and things, and then from my standpoint, how you set up the week, we've changed throughout the week, not crazy. This week's a little bit changed because of the holiday, but still basically a normal week, just moved around a little bit. But you always try to take in all the information and make some tweaks to give you an advantage, and at the end of the day, get them ready to play on Sunday.
Back to the defensive front, do you feel like that group has been impactful enough?
Yeah, I think that, through the course of the season here, we've done a really good job in the run game, not consistent enough. I think we've shown the ability to affect the passer, probably not consistently enough. And I think the collective have done a pretty good job. I would say that to you about every group. I could point to what we've done well and what we haven't done well. Obviously when we're sitting where we're sitting right now, obviously a lot of improvement needs to be made.
You said you feel like you've done some good things against the run. I think you rank 24th or 25th in terms of yards per carry allowed. So how do you kind of marry those two things?
Yeah, when you're down in a bunch of games and they're running to every snap, that's what's going to happen.